There we go. Welcome. We're back. I'm Chris. That's Linda over there.
Hi, how are you?
And I'm doing a little intro here. So we're going to share the screen so we can see what today's topic is. Here we go. Hang on. And today's topic is far more expansive than I originally thought. But anyway, it's could you fall in love with? And then there's really 10 items here, but the 11th one is kind of covering, I say elderly, but it's really about different ways of perceiving these things in the course of one's lifetime.
Mm.
So number one is, could you fall in love with someone not interested in romance? Could you fall in love with someone not interested in having kids? Could you fall in love with someone not interested in sex? Yeah. Could you fall in love with a liar who can't stop lying, like a perpetual liar? Could you fall in love with number 5, someone who is dying or in poor health? Could you fall in love with someone in prison? Could you fall in love with number 7, a homeless person or someone who's just perpetually unlucky, I guess, always down on their luck? Could you fall in love with number 8, someone who has none of your interests, none of your passions, so you have very little in common? Could you fall in love with number 9, someone you're making up in your head, a fantasy, an imaginary persona? The last one, could you fall in love with, like virtually, like online? Okay, so that's the top picks under one topic for today. Let's go back to seeing both of us. There we go.
Wow.
Over to Linda.
Well, we have our work cut out for us, Christopher.
I think
and
so.
These look like very interesting questions, given, you're a man and I'm a woman, and there might be some gender issues. So let's bring it.
Let's go.
So let's see. Could you fall in love with someone not interested in romance? And speaking for myself, as a person who's lived many years as a woman, I would say I like romance. If someone's not romantic, I'm not sure where it's going to go. I mean, you don't have to be romantic all the time, but it's nice to have romance in your relationship. Just it doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have to be, trips to the Bahamas or, whatever, rings and whatever, jewelry or any of that stuff. But I think when you have romance in your life, you take the time to spend time together and share moments together. It's so much better than being with someone, living with someone, married to someone who, you sleep with, you get up, you grunt at each other, you change, you make a cup of coffee for yourself. The guy throws a toasted bagel at you. You go off to work, you come back. There's more non-communication going on, and then you go back to bed. That's the end of that. So I think romance helps the relationship last longer, and I think it's a wonderful thing to have. So, Christopher, what do you think?
It is a nice thing, but I'm sure there are people who don't often experience the candlelight dinner and a bed filled with rose petals and little trails of interesting things leading one to that place. But anyway, I'm sure there are people who just can't figure out how to make that work. But could I fall in love with someone like that and maybe persuade them towards romance? I would say yes. I would say.
But would you yourself fall in love with someone who's not interested in romance?
Well, I would say maybe. It depends. It depends.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2 is, could you fall in love with someone not interested in having kids? Well, for me, it's too little, too late. I already have 5 kids, but I guess, sure. I'm sure that happens. Possibly you can adopt, or just, you inherit some kid from another family member who's unable to care for them. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of options here. How about you?
Well, I think for me, I mean, I'm also older. I won't be having kids, but I think for a lot of couples that are younger and they're young, they're starting out their marriage together, relationships together. I think this could be big thing for someone could you fall in love with someone not interested in having children? I think it could be hard for a lot of people because that's a big bone of contention. A lot of people now you can you can prepare to have children. It doesn't just happen, and I think that becomes a big topic of conversation between a couple, that whether one wants a child and one doesn't want a child. I think that could be really a deal breaker in a relationship. So if someone wants a child and the other one doesn't, you got issues, I think, that could transcend falling in love. I mean, in the bloom of falling in love, you could be carried away, and then you get down to a year later and you're like talking about children, and then you find out no, someone doesn't want to have children. That could be a real deal breaker, I think, for some people.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, that's what they want to do. They want to get married and they want to have children.
And it seems like that's a touch independent of falling in love. Like it's probably in the next part 2 of this.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Where can you continue to love once you found out that somebody doesn't want to have kids? Mm-hmm. I guess a lot of these transfer to part 2 a lot.
Yeah. But I think it does come up in the conversation when you're in that love state in the beginning. I think it is brought up. People say, "Oh, do you want to have kids?" And they say, "Oh, yeah, I want to have kids." And then they were kind of, they're on the same page sort of from the beginning. Okay. And then, of course, later on they may change their mind too. So I think that could be a deal breaker as far as a relationship, even if it's just starting out. My opinion. I'm just saying.
Okay, the next one. Could you fall in love with someone not interested in sex? Wow, that's a tough one. I guess there could be a lot of extenuating circumstances other than, say, remoteness, which comes back down at 10. But anyway, that would be a tough one. I don't know what I think exactly.
Well, have you ever had a relationship where there was no sex, where you were in love and there was no sex?
No.
Oh, well, I guess that answers that question.
Yep. Okay. There we go. That was easy, huh? Thank you, Linda, for clearing that up.
When you come right down to it, it's like, yeah, no.
Yeah, it's kind of important.
Someone not interested in sex. I mean, I think there are couples that are not interested in sex, but I think generally, fall in love with. That sexuality or sex is a part of that usually. So I do think people do fall in love. There's not having sex and there's not interested in sex. Now, some people, some religious, maybe if you're in a certain religion or a certain family constellation, you're interested in sex, but you're not going to have sex until you get married. So that could be that aspect to it, where you're just refraining from it. And I think a lot of people actually refrain from sex.
And could, in a way, go back to number 2.
Right.
I don't want any kids. Well, that puts a damper on certain things.
Yeah.
A little bit. Depends on your imagination.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we go to the next one.
I just wanted to say one more thing about that.
Okay.
But then,
she has notes.
No, I'm just looking at the lines.
I'm
looking at the lines.
Then things come to you.
Because I said maybe you're not interested in sex because you're not supposed to be. Like you're not having sex. It's not like you're gonna have sex because that's not what the setup is. Because of religious views
or whatever,
cultural views or whatever. But then someone not interested in sex at all, if that becomes apparent early, where they're not interested in sex at all, I think that could be an issue. I don't know. I think it could be.
What if the person you fell in love with is just really bad at it? They don't know up from down or left from right. They don't.
I have to be honest here. We all start out not knowing too much about it. We're all winging it in the beginning, aren't we? Most of us are. We're all winging it. Everyone wings it in the beginning because at some point we got to learn how to do it. So,
but your gym teacher didn't teach you everything you need to know. Come on.
Yeah, no, not at we didn't have that at my age. No.
Okay.
And even if you're taught something.
Ain't the same. No, it's not.
I talk to my kids. I have 2 boys, and I talk to my kids about sex. They were horrified. They didn't want to know anything. I just said, "What do you want to know?" And they said, "Nothing. I don't want to know anything."
Less. We want to know less than we did before.
From you, mother. Less than nothing from you, mother. So that's this whole thing about sex is really interesting because it's such a personal thing, and we all have to jostle with it. And so that could be, that not interested could be a lot of, there's a lot of nuance to that, not interested, you know.
Okay.
Maybe they're interested, but they don't know how, or they're
Okay.
embarrassed, or they don't know. And then they meet a person who's, you know, it's nice if people, well, we'll talk more about compatibility, but I think a compatibility is the thread throughout this whole thing for me.
Oh, okay. Okay. The next one is, could you fall in love with someone who is dying or in poor health? And well, I've been in love with people who have died, and I'm not sure I can answer that I fell in love with, but I can see how it's possible in certain circumstances. Maybe you're a caretaker or something and you just hit it off somehow. I don't
Yeah.
know. I can see it's possible. So for me, I would say, yes, it's possible. I don't
Yeah.
see it happening, but I can say, yes, it's
Yeah.
possible.
I think it's possible to fall in love with someone who's dying or in poor health. And again, it's the connection. It's the, you know, it may affect the, you know, the romance. It may affect the sexuality, but it could also, maybe it's you know, it's a connection, a soul connection, or a person to person connection that could run deep. And it could be someone, you know, maybe you're, you know, just proximity. Maybe you're a nurse or something. I mean,
Yep. Yep.
or working in a certain facility where there's people that aren't healthy. Could be in a time of, you know, a time of war. You hear a lot of, you know, a lot of movies where there's, you know, war stories, war
Yep.
movies, and there's always the romance of someone. And I think those are popular things because it does happen.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you could.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, yeah, I
Okay.
could. Now
So
you skip one, Chris. You got to go back one. It's just,
what did I miss?
the liar.
Oh, I did skip one. I'm sorry. Could you
That's okay.
fall in love with a perpetual liar? I didn't write that there, but there will be titles along the bottom of this, just as a reminder to myself. You know, someone who's just constantly lying, they can't stop. It's almost a part of their being, I guess. Short of them being psychopathic, manipulating son of a whatever. Short of that, I would say it's possible. It's really hard to completely imagine how that would occur over any length of time. But we're talking about falling in love. Some people can fall in love just by seeing somebody across the street, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Love at first sight. Does that exist,
Right.
Linda?
Yeah.
Extra topic. Does that
What?
exist?
Oh, yeah. We could add that. What, love at first sight. Are we? So you could fall in love with a liar? Is that what you're saying?
It's gonna be a lot of extra circumstances, but that person's still a person.
Well, it's true.
So I don't know.
You think if you found out someone was lying to you, was a perpetual liar, do you think you could change them?
I don't know that would work. It's hard enough to change myself, much less somebody else. Wow, that'd be a tough call there. That'd require the old pocket watch and a lot of, I think, hypnotism.
Yeah,
So how about you?
Well, I could not fall in love with a perpetual liar.
Wow, it's just point blank on it. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter
no,
who they are.
Yeah, because I have done that, and it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, it's just, you're being lied to. You know, intimacy is about trusting someone, and that's a lot about what intimacy is. And I was lied to. I mean, we're all lied to one time or another. You know, being manipulated.
It's just the extent of the lie.
It's the extent of the lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some people tell little lies, you know, to protect themselves for whatever reason, but some are just manipulators, and some are, you know, big liars, and
some have imaginations. They have active imaginations.
Yeah.
Possible that they're actors and actresses. Possible.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I guess if you fell in love with an actor who's acting a part, but
yeah,
I think we're talking more of someone who's like
just a regular Joe, Sally.
Manipulating.
Yeah,
maybe.
just a regular person. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Okay, so that's I skipped ahead. So now we're back at, could you fall in love? I think we did that. Someone who's dying or in poor health.
Right.
Okay. How about number 6? Could you fall in love with someone in prison? I would say, again, a lot of odd circumstances. Planets would have to align, all kinds of stuff for that for me, but I can see it's possible. Maybe I'm a security guard. Maybe she's all that in a slice of toast or something. I don't know. With a knife. Don't give her a knife. Maybe. I can see it's possible. Again, it's a person, a connection, a
Yeah, so you're a little
relationship.
more, yeah, you're a
I'm
little more
flexible.
open-minded about
Yeah.
these things.
How about you?
Well, I think again, if I had something in common with a prisoner, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I have never had anything in common with a prisoner. I haven't known a lot of prisoners.
How about an
Um,
art forger? So you're an artist. What about an
yeah,
art
but
forger? You have
yeah,
some
but
connection. He all of a sudden he buys
yeah,
all of your paintings. He buys everything you
yeah,
make. All of a sudden you
yeah.
notice
Oh, I don't know. It's like
it's far
someone.
fetched. It's far fetched.
Well, it is kind of far fetched. I mean, the thing is, I'm not one to break the law about anything. I mean, I'm like, super
What?
nerdy with that when it comes to breaking the law. I mean,
Well, he's
I have
just an
had,
art forger. He just got
yeah,
caught. He just had that unlucky moment when he sold it
yeah,
for
unlucky moment, but that's
$3 million.
that's a series of lies
Yeah,
and things that he's done over a long time, or
but that's
she done over a long
that's
period of time.
impressive abilities they have. They're probably
Yes, very
charming,
impressive.
probably very charming.
Now,
Very,
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
these
charisma.
people, a lot of these people would make it into my books and they'd be main characters, but
Oh,
falling in
oh,
love with them, I'm not so sure. But in the book,
okay,
I would use them, totally use them.
okay.
But I have known women that have fallen in love with prisoners. They were pen pals,
PayPal, probably that too.
and yeah, they probably sent them
Probably
money for
PayPal.
cigarettes or whatever. But they were
Help me
pen
out.
pals with men, and they were quite taken by them because it was so romantic, and they were, sending letters every week, and the women's were head over heels, and then the guy got out, and then they used to split, and the girl was heartbroken. So you have to be careful with that. I mean, you have
Yeah,
to, yeah,
yeah. I'm sure
yeah,
there's Patreon, and then there's probably Prizion. Just send me a little money. Let's
yeah,
see. The
yeah.
next one is what, number 7, right?
Hmm.
Could you
Right.
fall in love with a homeless person or just somebody who's always, I don't want to categorize them specifically like that, but someone who's always down on their luck. They got here on planet Earth and they just can't turn it around for whatever reason.
Yeah, yeah,
Again, my usual reply is it's a person. It depends on the circumstances. Probably over some amount of time, or I don't know. They just, again, they're all that in a slice of toast with a slight odor. Maybe it's possible. Maybe.
wow.
How about you?
Well,
A big no.
yeah, I don't know about that. Now the thing is, I have befriended a homeless person
Okay.
locally, and
Yeah.
he was a really nice guy, and I got along with him well. And but it was more of a, helping him out, and there was
Oh.
no relationship with us. He seemed a little bit more interested in some ways. He's kind of followed me around a little bit and stuff, but there was no. I mean, it wasn't going to go anywhere because what would we talk about? I mean, I think compatibility is a huge thing for
Okay.
maybe just women. I mean, I don't know. It's just that,
Hmm.
yeah. So I would say, no. I would
In
say no.
terms of circumstances, it probably matters that you're in a city like Washington, D.C., or New York, or L.A., where there's a lot of people who are in that situation for you to have that sort of encounter
Right.
and even
Yeah.
allow it to happen. I mean, if you're in Des Moines, Iowa, well, I don't, maybe Des Moines,
Yeah.
Iowa is bad, or you're in Kansas or someplace, or where I'm at, where it's just zero, just zero. A
Hmm.
lot of these
But
people
yeah.
might be unlucky, but they're not homeless exactly.
Right. Like what you said, though, I may have there may be something what you said as far as, you meet someone and they're down on their luck, they're homeless. A lot of these people are veterans, they had just had a lot of tough luck with them, or,
Yeah,
just happened to be without money for a month or two and they're out on the streets.
yeah, it
And I
doesn't
think
take long.
if you did keep your mind open and get to know them, and if in time, you started helping them, or maybe talking more to them, and maybe they were starting to change their life around. I mean, I guess it could be, it could change as far as how you would feel about them, and maybe develop more of a equal relationship. And I
Well,
don't know.
I guess falling in love doesn't have to be something that happens instantaneous. It could happen over time. It could be a long fall, or it could be a short fall.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Love at first sight. It's kind of a fall in
Oh,
love,
we should talk about that. Could you fall in love at first sight?
I guess,
We're
but
all going off topic, but we brought it up,
well,
and
it's related. It's related.
yeah,
I think that's a touch superficial, but probably, yeah.
yeah. I think I would agree with that. I think you can fall in love. Fall in love. Uh, what do you call it?
Fall
Fall
in
in love
love at first sight.
at first. Fall in love at first sight.
Love
I
at
think.
first sight.
Yeah, I think certainly younger people. I mean, I know when I was younger, it was
Yeah,
like someone
yeah,
was, I just liked someone, and
yeah.
that
But
it went.
that's
What?
at a point in your life where you're heavily chemically loaded. You
That's
got
true.
testosterone and estrogen and whatever else
Hmm.
is going on. I don't know what all the chemicals are, but you're very driven, you know.
Well, that's true. But there's
You may
also
not
when
know
you're
how it works, going back to number 3, sex part. You may not know how the puzzle works together, but you gotta try the puzzle. I want to try this puzzle. And yeah, I can, it's just
But
different.
now the question is, I know we're off topic again, but
Yeah, we
can
are.
older people fall in love at first sight when that chemical aspect is gone? Can older people fall in love at first sight?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I think they can. It depends on how that person
I think by that time
appears.
they
And,
probably accumulated a touch of wisdom.
hmm.
So they might be rolling at first sight to be more than sight. It might be all
Right.
the senses together.
Yeah,
And
maybe more than just looking at them. Maybe something like their smile or the way they play bridge or the way they play, something that they
a
do
lot of
that you
things.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Where were we? Oh, number 8.
Yeah.
Could you fall in love with someone who shares none of your interests and passions? You got absolutely nothing in common practically. Again, it's a person. I can see it. Interests and passions change over time. It just depends. For me, it's possible. Yes. It's not likely, but it's possible.
No, not possible.
I think
I
there's
mean,
a truckload of couples out there who have absolutely nothing in common. I watch sports on the weekend and she goes wherever she went.
yeah, but I wonder if it started out that way.
No, he lied. Going
Oh,
back to number
he lied,
4. Hey,
and
going back to number 4, he lied.
yeah,
And why did he lie? Going back to number 3, it was for the sex.
it gets so complicated so quickly.
It does. You start to, all of a sudden you've done all of these except for the homeless prison
Yeah,
thing.
I mean, you fall in love with. Now this is called falling in love. So
Yeah.
who
Could you
shares
fall in
none?
love?
Did I?
Yeah.
What?
Could you fall in love with someone who shares none of your interests and
No, I
passions?
don't think so. It's again a
Okay.
compatibility thing.
Okay.
But like you say, people, I mean, fall in love, then they are together, and then they sort of drift apart. There's that
Yeah.
empty nest syndrome with parents. Once the kids leave, I mean, the kids can be like the common interest and passion for a lot of couples. They get married, then they have kids, and all of a sudden, all that's focused on the kids,
I
and
think
then the
that's our
kids,
part 2. Yeah. We have a
yeah,
lot we
oh,
could add to part 2, I think.
oh,
Continue to
gee,
love. Continue.
yeah,
Sorry. Sorry.
okay, so yeah,
Where, so yours is a no, mine's a
mine's a
possible.
no.
Okay. So number 9, could you fall in love with somebody who's in your head, like a fantasy and imaginary persona? This for me is a absolute no. No.
No?
Oh, it'd be fun. I mean, they're fun. Fantasies are fun. Imaginary friends are fun,
Well,
but
why would you say yes then?
because I can't fall in love with them, they're not real.
Oh, jeez.
What about you?
Well, of course. That's the
Oh
one
my
person I
gosh,
could fall in love with is
we have some dramatic
someone's
differences.
imaginary that I have total control of. That's all in my head. Antonio
Wow.
Banderas, or I don't know, Paul
Perhaps
Newman.
at
He's
the
even
top,
dead
I
in it.
should have said, "Could you fall in love with a real person?"
Oh, now that's it. But it's an interesting question. I mean, some
Yeah.
people. I mean, I have an active imagination, so
Ah.
I think and there's no one around who I can fantasize about. I'll just pick someone out of my head. I'm not sure how other women feel about that or other men, but I'm
Well,
all over this guy. Whoever this guy is, I'm all over him.
that could work, I guess. Here comes one that's kind of related at first, but now it's not anymore. Could you fall in love with number 10 virtually, like somebody online who's
Yeah.
always remote? You never absolutely never get together. But
Oh, never get together
nowadays,
at all? Oh, well, it doesn't matter, I guess.
yeah, but nowadays you've got audio, video. I mean,
Right.
I'm sure somebody somewhere is working on smell or touch or whatever they're working
Right.
on. Who knows? But this setup like this is kind of close. Could you?
Right. Meeting people. I think it's, times have changed. And how many people do you know that have fallen in love and married someone they've met online? Lots and lots of people.
Oh,
So,
in the end, they do meet though. So that
oh, they do meet. Yeah. Oh, you're talking about
mhm.
never meeting?
Is
Hmm.
it possible?
Well, it's possible to fall in love and then
Okay,
you'll
okay.
fall out of love, but you'll fall in love. I mean, I think that happens when you
And
fall in love.
fall out of love, huh?
So you fall in love and then fall out of love.
I guess it's possible. I could see it happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it could happen.
And of course, that last one I just had, elderly, what I really meant is how these things change over time according to how you perceive things and what you learn, what you've been through and all that kind of stuff. Because I think that would affect almost all of these,
Hmm.
maybe.
Well, there's also, you could also say, could you fall in love with someone a lot older or a lot younger? How about that question?
Depends
We
on
didn't
what
talk about that one.
depends on what a lot is. If
Oh,
I'm
so it
30,
depends on what a lot is for
if
you.
I'm 30 and she's 90, I don't no, no,
Right.
I don't
What if you're
know.
90 and she's 30?
Yeah, that's not gonna work either.
Oh, yeah.
That
I was going
just
to say, I was thinking you'd say, well, yeah, that'll work.
no. I just start digging my own hole at that point because that's gonna drive you
Yeah, that would
crazy.
not be a good, no, that would be
No,
good.
something else is at work there.
But I mean, there is, let's say well, anywhere from, well, there's the age span, let's say 20 years difference.
From this point in time, for me,
Yeah.
85. I don't
Well,
know.
85, but then you go younger. What about a woman who's 45?
Maybe she's
Falling in
old.
love, just falling in love.
Oh,
We're not
yeah,
talking about
we're just falling in love. I
just
see.
falling in love.
Oh, and she's old for her age. Okay, that works. Yeah, I could see that. She's old for her
Well,
age. She's an old
yeah,
soul. Is that what they say? She's
yeah.
an old soul. Yeah, that would work. Sure.
There is,
Or
you
just
hear
don't
about
tell me.
marriages, you hear about people falling in love and getting married, and there's huge age differences, but they seem, a lot of times they last. So that Macron, who is the president of France,
All
he
right.
was in high school, 15, when he fell in love with his drama teacher, who's, I think, 20 years older, or maybe even 30 years older. And they're
Yeah.
still married, and they're,
Yeah.
she's, I don't know, he's 30, he's like 37, and she's like 67, I think. They're still together. That's unusual, though, but it's France. You know how French.
Yeah,
Aussie French, they know how to
it's,
say it.
it's possible. Thank you, Linda, for offending an entire country.
No, but I mean,
We already have issues getting along with that country. Now it just
well,
got worse.
I don't think, yeah. And then you have
Sorry.
the opposite too. You have the older man and the younger woman, which is classic. Charlie Chaplin married his wife of 18. He was, I think, in his, I'm not sure, in the 60s. Like she was 17 or 18 or something. They had married a lot of children, and
It's
but I
love.
mean,
It's love. There's
well, it is. It's
exceptions.
love.
Exceptions. No rules. No whatever. It
Yeah,
happens. It happens.
that's right. So yeah, I guess that's kind of, two people are in love. They're in love, right? There's not
Yeah.
much you can do about that.
See
It's
where
kind
you
of go
go.
with the flow.
Exactly. So I think we're done with this topic. I think.
I think we are done with this topic.
Oh, is there something you want to say before we head
I
out?
just want to say that my response to your questions were, you were very open-minded about all of these. It sounds like you could fall in love with just about, you're open to just fall in love with just about anybody.
The
except
stump
the
in my
fantasy,
front yard.
except about the fantasy lover. And
Yeah.
I'm just saying, Chris, that possibly you will be getting a lot of interested people coming, maybe contacting you after this video, who are maybe possibly homeless, just down on their luck for a little bit, or in prison, or
Just bear in mind that he's an
who
old
lie
guy.
a fair amount.
An old
What?
guy. Just bear in mind he's an old guy.
I don't think that
You
matters
might
for a
get
lot of these
you might get
people.
the same reactions, Linda. You never
Well,
know.
I don't want. I said no to all these people,
I
except
know.
the fantasy lover, which is totally in my head. So I have control of that. Yeah. So, anyways, I just want to make that observation.
So I think we're done at this point, and I'll say that there will be a part two to this. The next one won't be could you fall in love with, but could you continue to love? And the list might get a little longer now that we've thought about it. Could you
Oh,
continue to love? For you, you're going to have a lot you can just skip over because I never fell in love with you to begin with, prisoner. So I can't continue to love you. So yours will go a little faster
yeah,
than
mine will
mine,
go a
I
lot
guess.
faster because I'm like half of these I wouldn't fall in love with. Yeah.
So at this point, I will say goodbye to Linda.
Goodbye, and we'll see you on the other side.
Okay. Peace, everybody. Take care.